Hi everybody, it's your old pal Chuck, and it's the start of a new week. Now, if you remember, last week was Avengers week, but I actually forgot a day, so I want to make it up to you guys and give you a real special conclusion to Avengers week, since I know everybody on Twitter, Facebook, the internet as a whole got the DVD or Blu-ray last week. And what I'm going to show you is actually something I don't think is in stores yet. Um, and it's this. And it's blocking my face. This is the Target exclusive Avengers 8-pack figure collection. This is basically all the single release figures from the movie um, th- of the main characters. You have the Avengers, you have Loki, and you have Nick Fury. This was given to me by my good friend Arun from Marvel Comics. Um, yeah, it's really cool. One thing I want to point out about the packaging is if you look on the side here, it's some great drawn artwork of the Avengers. Um, this is something I did not see on any of the packaging, and it's also across the top here. Um, you know, I don't know why they didn't add this in. Right off the bat, I want to mention this is a prototype. I am actually probably committing some cardinal sin by opening it. And the reason I'm mentioning this is during the review, you may notice serial numbers be on the legs of the figures written and written sloppily, as well as some of the paint and what have you is done sloppily. I'm just throwing this out here because that stuff I'm not really going to touch upon since this is like a prototype or I'm not or a promo copy, whatever you want to look at it. Also, I don't think this is the final version of the figures because Captain America does not have his holster, and I know that was like a big part of the figure. Um, None of the spring-loaded gimmick weapons are included, which is nice. It's just the main figures and their traditional stuff. But we all know that these figures weren't the best in the world, so I'm going to trudge on through them and hopefully nothing bad will happen. So let's get to the figures. Starting us off is the figure that I think is the worst in the set and actually the worst of the Avenger figures. But it's kind of ironic since really this guy arguably ended up being the most popular character in the movie. It's none other than the Hulk. Um, Basically, this is how he looked at in the final battle with the tan, torn pants. Um, he's green with a like a not a black wash, but like a brown wash over him, so he looks nice. But the problem is he has a built-in gimmick. You swing the arms up like this, and it's like Hulk smash. I mean, it's fun, but it does hinder articulation. Speaking of which, his arms can move, but they're very tight ratcheting joints, which are part of the gimmick. And going from experience when I was younger, if you try to like move these arms independently, you're going to strip the joints and the figure will be worthless. He does have a elbow joint, but if you notice, he has gorilla hands. So if you rotate it in, it's like molded open hand on this side with a fist on the other, and it's like he's like angry. He's like, I'm gonna get you. No waist articulation. He does have that ab joint, but that's more for the gimmick. Uh, Legs swivel forward, and then it's like you rotate them at the calf or thigh to get it straight, but it just doesn't look right. Um, Single jointed knees, no ankle articulation, and the legs can go out to the side that far. if you just want to come in and get a close look at his head, yeah, I mean, that is the Mark Ruffalo Hulk. It's just, it's not a great figure. Let's go on and take a look at somebody else. And here's what I would consider to be one of the better figures in the set, and I'm really surprised to say that. This is Iron Man. This is either the Mark 7 or the Mark 8 armor. Um, no idea. I, to be honest, have lost count with these movie figures. Um, for articulation, his arm can rotate 360. Why you would do that, I don't know. Shoulder joint swivel to pivot it in and out. Single jointed elbow, swivel at the elbow. That's for both sides. Grabbing hand on one, sort of repulse ray on the other. The head can rotate. It is on a ball joint, but because of the design of the armor, can't go up and down. No waist articulation. This now we're getting to the parts that surprise me. Double jointed knees. Yeah, I thought we would not see those on this line. Um, Ankle can pivot forward and back, but they both have a rocker joint. That's incredible. The legs can go out to the side quite nicely, but unfortunately, they're limited in going forward and back. Uh, this one can move a little bit better. This one is rather stiff. Um, they use that new Marvel ball jointed hip. Let's come in close and get a little bit of the details. Okay, so there's that nice golden Avenger face. There is a slight black wash over the body, but ever so slight. Like I said in the beginning, I don't know if this is on purpose or not. It's just how it is. Um, Arc reactor, a little silver in the legs. He is leaning slightly towards my right, which is this side. I don't know if that's because of how he was packaged in the box. I really hope not. But that is also an issue with the figures, is that they are packaged in action poses. But yeah, like I said, he's a good figure, and I think this is the one that came with that spinning shield thing. So if you see him on shelves, he might be worth a purchase. Let's move on to the next figure. Moving along, we're going to take a look at the God of Thunder, Thor. This is a figure I'm a little bit disappointed about, namely because in his own movie line, we didn't get a great definitive 3 3/4 inch Thor figure, and we're definitely not getting it here. But this is a pretty good figure. Head can rotate, it's on a ball joint, but due to his long hair, it is limited. You can't fault him. I mean, that's how he looked. Um, Standard arm articulation, rotation at the shoulder, swivel at the bicep, single jointed elbow. I'm sorry, not a swivel at the bicep, swivel at the elbow. He does come with Mjolnir, and thanks to the movie, I finally know how to pronounce that. Um, Moving, no waist articulation. None of these guys really have any waist articulation. He is nice. He does have the newer hip joints, so the leg goes forward and back without having to rotate. Um, Single joint. Oh wait, double jointed at knee, but unfortunately the sculpting of his thigh, you really can't get that full rotation. But I don't know if really he would in real life. Let's come in and take a look at the details. Okay. This is a great representation of Chris Hemsworth. Granted, it's not as nice as Odin, and having a 3 3/4 inch Anthony Hopkins figure. But who knows? Maybe someday people are saying, "Oh, I got a 3 3/4 inch Chris Hemsworth figure." Um, his cape is rubber, and basically it's so sculpted and heavy that that's actually what he stands on. I mean, I'm bending his legs in, his knees in, just so he can, looks like he is standing, and he does bring him a little forward a little. But this is his armor from the movie. Nothing special. We've all seen it. I do like how Mjolnir looks, and I like especially how it fits in his hand. That it's not too loose, not too tight. Easily he can drop it if he has to. Oh, I forgot to mention there is a calf rotation there. Oh, interesting. There is right there the serial numbers. Not important. I'm not gonna zoom in on it, but yeah, good figure. I'm pretty sure this one came with a giant craptastic Mjolnir missile launcher. I'm not kidding. It was like I had a second hammer that was encased in a purple um, plastic thing. I don't know. It was like he was throwing it. But yeah, solid figure. Let's move on to the next guy. All right, here's Hawkeye. Now, this is actually a figure some of you might not have seen yet because Hawkeye is packaged, I think, one to a case. Yeah. I have to hold on to him a little because his legs were warped in the package. So he's standing now, but I'm afraid he's a little wobbly. He comes with one bow. The single carded figure comes with this bow, and then another bow that's attached to a spring-loaded launcher, which may or may not be removable. I was able to take it off and put it back on, but I wasn't sure if I was supposed to deal with that. It's actually a nice little spring-loaded thing. He has it's a cool gimmick, but also I know there is a change. Um, the chest armor has brown highlights instead of purple. I really don't know. But for articulation, uh, head rotation, ball joints, it actually goes up down very nicely. Uh, Swivel at the shoulder, single jointed elbow, rotates at the elbow, no wrist articulation. Uh, Same hip joints as Thor, so he has all that calf rotations, single jointed knee. No rotation at the knee, no ankle articulation. Good luck trying to get him in some sort of like bow firing pose. Not going to happen. Uh, let's come in and get a little more detailed look. Okay, so nice visage of Jeremy Renner. Like I mentioned, there's the brown highlights. It's also on his quiver on his back with no arrows. Um, but yeah, this is his armor and look or uniform for the movie, looking nothing like any version of Hawkeye I have ever known, but apparently they want realism. Yeah, realism. So, not too much to him. Let's move on to the next figure. Now we come to the one figure I think that got it the worst in this set. Again, this is a promo copy. Not everything's finished, but there's a lot of paint mistakes on the Cap here, and his joints were horribly warped, especially in the legs for the way he was positioned. But we're going to carry on. It's Captain America, my favorite Avenger from the new movie series. Wasn't really that big into the Cap comics when I read comics. I got in right around that time they were doing the whole Nightfall type of storyline with Cap. He was going to get that new Captain America armor, or that was, the super soldier serum was rejecting his body, what have you. But so yeah, so as you can see, he has head rotation, no up and down movement. Um, Standard shoulder rotation, as we've seen. Single jointed elbow. The new hip articulation, forward, out to the side. Rotation at the calf. Double jointed knees. Uh, no ankle, no thigh. But then again, if you look, there's a lot of texturing to the arm, which we're going to take a look at in a second, and there's no waist or ab crunch. So let's take a look at that texturing I was just talking about. So yeah, a slight resemblance to Chris Evans. Apparently, the single-carded figure had a variant with the hood off. That's one of the things that always bugged me about these new Marvel Universe movies. I always thought that Steve Rogers guarded his identity as Captain America, even when he came back. But so as you can see, there is that nice layering. It really does look like a body armor instead of a spandex suit. There's that heavily armored thigh area. I can understand why they felt not to put in ankle articulation because I don't know if Cap would even be able to move his ankles. But of course, there's the shield, and interesting thing about the shield, it doesn't clip on. It has double straps. One slightly larger than the other, so that's the way you put it on. He holds the smaller strap in his hand, and that's on. But really nice looking shield. I'm sure it's been reused from the first Avenger movie line. And yes, he does have his little pistol, as I mentioned. There's no holster. And he doesn't have a trigger finger, so it's a very loose grip, but it might also be because of just the way the hands are. So I'm not going to pass too much judgment on it. Let's move on to the next figure. Okay, and here's the villain for the movie, Loki. I'm having a hard time getting him all in the shot because of his staff and that giant horned head. But Loki was the other figure I bought that was the main movie cast. And that was because not only is this a great representation of the movie Loki, this is a great looking Loki figure. Unfortunately, he is a little bow-legged due to how he was packaged, I think. Um, and also articulation wasn't that great. Molded fist for the left hand. Right hand can grip, and he's gripping his spear that holds either the piece of the Tesseract slash Cosmic Cube or the Mind Jewel from the Infinity Gauntlet. Yes, the Thanos was in the movie. It's over. I don't have to warn you about spoilers at this point. If you haven't seen it, it's your own fault. Head can rotate left to right. No real neck articulation up and down. Shoulders. We've seen this before. Single jointed elbow. Swivel at the elbow. Great new hip joints. Rotation at the calf. And believe it or not, single jointed knee and rotation at the knee. No ankle articulation, no waist articulation. Let's get the details. And here we are. You can see that horned helmet in better detail. The only difference I think between this and the single card release is that there's a more muted paint scheme in terms of colors. If you look, yeah. The gold and green are not as bright, but I do like how the black works. There's his cape, and it is molded in a rather actionish, regal type of pose. Um, really is a great figure with a great head sculpt. Let's move on, and now we're going to take a look at two figures which you really may or may not be seeing on store shelves. Remember what I said a few minutes ago about Captain America getting the worst end of the stick in this set? Yeah, I take that back. Black Widow does. This is actually, the figure is supposed to be the saving grace of the entire movie line. And she's like one to a case with Hawkeye, incredibly hard to find because everyone's picking her up. because of the fact she has the most articulation out of everyone. Um, she has double jointed knees, which are completely warped because of how she's packaged, put in the package. Um, almost had the leg pop off there. Um, ankle rotation left and right, forward and back ankle pivot, nothing side to side. Um, wrist articulation, um, rotation at the elbow, single jointed elbow, shoulder and rotation and swivel. Um, she does have two open hands. One has a molded trigger finger, which is what I'm using to hold the gun. The other gun I have in her holster. She has two holsters, which is incredible. She can actually carry her weapons. Um, head articulation is just left and right, no movement up and down. Um, let's come in and take a look at the details. Only a passing resemblance to Scarlett Johansson with that head sculpt. Like I said, she does have two pistols, um, and they do go in her holster. Unfortunately, this is what the pistol looks like. Unfortunately, they're very rubbery. They're no solid plastic at all. So I'm just keeping one there because this hand does not have that trigger finger, and she wasn't holding it that well. But I mean, just take a look at how. Yeah, this is how this figure came out. I'm probably gonna have to get a single carded version of this just to have a Black Widow that's not bow-legged and all crusty. But she is black, black suit, some silver accents. It is what it is. I mean, this is her Shield uniform. Um, again, no resemblance to any Black Widow I have ever seen. But what are you gonna do? Now, let's move on to the second reason you're probably gonna buy this set. And well, remember what I just said about Black Widow? Forget it. This is the best figure in the line. This is the Nick Fury figure. And he's actually using the Winter Soldier body with a trench coat over it. Well, or a trench coat, half trench coat. I mean, these are the same arms that just been redone to look like the leather sleeves, but there is a problem. I mean, we're going to get to it. Let's go through articulation. Full head rotation, some up and down movement, shoulder articulation, rotate at the elbow. Um, actually, no wrist articulation, surprisingly, or it's just frozen on mine. Does have dual molded trigger fingers, um, double jointed knees, but they're unfortunately quite wobbly and loose due to the way he's packaged in this set. Forward and back ankle pivot as well as rotation. He has the old style Marvel joints, which means that the legs can go out to the side and rotate at the calf, but you have to rotate the ball to get it forward. Here's the problem. The calf joint is so loose that it's next to impossible. I'm trying now for you to try and rotate the ball joint. In fact, it kind of looks like on this leg that the plastic was had already been torn trying to rotate and move the leg. He also is the only figure to have any type of waist or ab articulation. Let's come in and get a little more detail on Colonel Nick Fury. Yeah, there's that head sculpt. That's Samuel L. Jackson. A lot of you already have a version of this figure from the Iron Man 2 line. He was part of a Toys R Us exclusive 3-pack, and he was included as a bonus fourth figure. And that guy was made using GI Joe tooling. As you can see, he does come with the Luger, I think it is, that Winter Soldier did, and of course he has the uh, hip holster that the pistol can just fit into. You know, it's a little more tricky because of the coat, but it can get in there. Does have that chest holster, but that gun's molded in. Um, clearly you can see all the same details and what have you, as well as his bow-leggedness uh, from being in the packaging. But this is the Winter Soldier body. I actually did not know that until I, had him in hand. I just didn't recognize it, but yep, this is him. Let's zoom out and get my final thoughts on the entire set. For what it's worth, this gift set is worth the money. You're basically getting all of the principal characters from the movie in one location for a decent price. I hope. I have no idea what the MSRP is going to be. By themselves, the figures are okay, but we know that. Joe fans, we're going through that with the retaliation line. But I have to stress the value. You're getting the entire Avengers team in one set. You're getting Black Widow, Nick Fury, and Hawkeye, which are incredibly hard to find. If you see it at Target, pick it up. This is your old pal Chuck for the Avengers. I'll see you next time.